What's good with the YouTube? You already know. Real Talk with Flacco. This is Flacco himself coming live and direct. And on this platform, what do? We dive into sensitive issues, delicate matters regarding prison, gangs, community, recidivism, as well as addiction. And as you can tell by the title, man, we're going to get to a straight topic about red on red. And this is a particular incident that occurred out there in the streets, which ended up having a green light being enforced in the county jail. So this was around October 2002. I was out in the streets. I just got out around June 2002. And I quickly plugged in. I was under the Salinas regimen at that time. But I had a lot of leeway to go out there and conduct business while I was out there in San Jose. Now, a carnal was absconding that I knew. Touched down the streets. Was running from parole already. He needs some safe haven. I've discussed this before. I took him out to Salinas. So we did a little discussion out there. He was supposed to come back. But he wanted to do a holiday first. So I thought I was dropping him off. And the carnal's name was Luis Huicho Gonzalez de Sanjo. So as we're coming back, I said, I got to go to a party, bro. I promised I'd be at this homegirl's pad. And it's going to be cracking, I told him. I go, there's going to be hella homeboys from everywhere. I go, we may be able to network a little bit, man. Let's go check it out. So we went to this homegirl Salinas pad, right? Right there off of, kind of by Morel and Piedmont. Anybody from San Jose knows where I'm talking about. And you had everybody from every single hood almost there, man. Like, you had all the homeboys from Milpitas. You had homeboys from Santa Clara, Mountain View, Eastside San Jose, Capitol Park, Balmas, Mas Locals. Every hood was there. You had some type of representation, like about 200 heads at least over there, deep. So we're making my rounds, eh? And the carnal Huicho's he's a trip. He has a big old beard, short little motherfucker with a big old voice. And, you know, he's a very authoritative type of character, you know what I mean? And so we're there. I introduced him to the homegirl. He's already fallen in love, like, oh, wow. And we're kicking it, and then we notice a little bit of conflict happening. You know what I'm saying? So we're watching from a distance. And I was at this party the year before, and there was some dude that I had hit in prison that was there. And I was with the homeboy from Mountain View. He ended up getting some youngsters from Mountain View, gave them an RB. They were ready to whack him right there at the spot. But dude ended up taking off as soon as he see me. So as we're there, the party's cracking off, music, everybody's in there. Some people are in their Halloween outfits. You know what I'm saying? It's beer, alcohol, hard liquor, everything, man. And a lot of homeboys there I knew. You know what I'm saying? And there was those that knew by my presence being there. They didn't know I was with the carnal, but I was. Yeah, but they knew I was affiliated and associated with. So there was a lot of respect being shown. I was introducing the carnal to a few of these individuals. And we're in the backyard. Next thing you know, we see an altercation. Dude just takes off on dude. Right? This erupts into a whole melee. And it's just going off. I mean, they're fighting. They're destroying the house. It goes from the backyard all the way to the front of the house. My car I was in ended up getting damage to it in the process of all this happening. So as they're going at it, homeboys have some have crowbars, some have bats, bottles, knives, and everything, man. Me and the carnal trying to break it up. And, you know, he's just like, you know, stop. I'm like, man, you guys understand this, a carnal here? And he's like, they don't give a fuck. I'm like, you know, which was kind of true. So as the melee ensues, right, homegirl was pissed off about it, man. I'm like, don't trip. I'll eventually be able to take care of it. I just need his name. Ended up getting his name, and I think about 2 weeks later, a week later, I ended up getting arrested. The carnal ends up getting arrested. He's in the 4th floor. He gets transferred to the old jail, Little Max, with Chuco. I had sent some kites over there because I had resumed control over the new jail. Within about 2 months, I was in charge of the whole new jail. And so I knew I had to report to the old jail to Chuco at that time. And the Snake Pits had a communication through a homeboy named Smokey from Sanjo, was a bro. And so I'm getting there. I'm also setting up visits. I actually have one of the homegirls go visit Huicho so I can get communications with Chuco and them. And so, you know, everything's going good. You know what I mean? I go on the bus. I go to Levi Court. Guess who I run into? This dude named Casper from Capitol Park. Who do you think the culprit was that started all this shit? It was Casper from Capitol Park. So I start jamming him up. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, where you at, man? Like, hey, you remember that night? Whoa. He goes, oh, you guys trying to cross me up? I'm like, nah, just, man, like, trying to figure out what happened, man. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to run down the whole story. I already know the whole get down, man. And I'm in my shackles, so I can't, there's no way for me to get to him. He's in green and stuff. I found out where he's at. So I get back, I write Chuco a kite. I send it down there, and because there was a couple other things, I think there was an individual named Kiki from Gilas who was I ended up DPing Kiki hella bad for a minute, but he was kind of a young northerner that was kind of wasn't educated enough, was abusing his authority. That another individual that was on freeze named Gil. So what ends up happening is this, right? I get a letter from Chuco, and it comes back. It says Tonito, which is Antonio. It's kind of a code name. So what Chuco would do was he would write a letter with no stamp and send it out, and have my name as a return address, so it would get to me. And so he's telling me I'll check into all that. Next thing you know, about a week later, after I conveyed all the messages of where dude was at, I actually had my wife give the message to the homegirl where the house party happened at, who related to Huicho, because they would come together and visit each other. That got from there to Chuco, and then Chuco authorized the green light. The kite came out that Sal Ledesma, Casper from Capitol Park, is to be removed and placed in PC for disrespecting the NF. Nothing to do with any other red on red charges. It was because there was a Garnazers present, and they jeopardized his safety and security. And eventually he ended up in PC. I don't know if they removed him or the cops caught him up, man. But that just goes to show, man, how much, sometimes you may not think these Cardenales have that much power. You know what I'm saying? But they do. They're very, their communications are well. They can establish resources anywhere at and just get shit done. This was a prime example. You know what I'm saying? We're in 3 different locations, and I'm able to get word to where it needs to go, get the information where he's at, and they're able to put the filter out there to have him do no good. And these are the things that people have to realize, man, that when you're out there partying, drinking, and doing things happen, man. You have to take precautions upon yourself that you're not going to jeopardize your safety, your freedom, or any of those people around you. And this is clearly what he did, because by his incident of what he did, it kicked off a fucking crazy ass fucking melee. It put me and the Carnal Huicho in danger. I mean, just me alone being at that party that I'm functioning under a regiment and that I have a particular crew at that time would give grounds to have the dude deemed no good. But the fact that Huicho was there, even though Huicho was deemed no good afterwards, it's just sealed the deal, And sometimes the NF will make examples of individuals for their choice of conduct just so others will follow suit. Because Chuco remembers back in the 90s, man, when he was in there, he was in 6B, they went to the 4th floor, and there was a lot of red on red crimes at that time, a lot of drive-by shootings, a lot of homeboys were set tripping, and the Garnals and structure at that time were trying to put a stop to that. That's when the salutation filter came out, the red on red filter came out. So if you have these laws and expectations and you're forwarding these out to these hoods, therefore you're going to be accountable. There was no due process with this individual. It was clear as day what he did. There was no justifying it. The dude was not a threat. He just took off on the dude because he wanted to. And he had priors for doing that stuff. So that was included in the report. They just deemed him no good. Nothing else had to be said. And, the message behind this story is this, man, is be very cautious of what you do out there in the streets. Whether you're going to a party, you're with your kids, always provide your safety. Because I'm not telling anybody to stop like kicking it with homeboys in the hood and going to parties and so forth. But realize if you're dealing with that type of atmosphere and individuals that gravitate towards the gang lifestyle, you're always going to put yourself in potential risk for something to happen. This whole incident was clear as day. You know what I mean? Everything was good. Everybody was having fun. All it took was one individual to kick off a riot and put the whole household in danger. And plus it was a disrespect to my homegirl at the time. As I told her I would deal with it, I got it dealt with. And red on red has been a traditional thing that just occurred for years because the Sureños were not as deep in the 80s and 90s. They were out there, but they weren't really, how you say it, they weren't a factor. Everybody was about making sure their hood was the most recognized, respected, and so forth. Right? Now, I'm not against red on red, and I'm not for it either. Because I think a lot of individuals will hide behind it. Oh, I'm an active homeboy, bro. You can't do nothing about it. You gonna disrespect me? Come on, man. You know, that was always my feeling, man. Like, I would never take disrespect from anybody because at the end of the day, you're a man. And you have those that were out there or in the county jail that would hide behind red on red because they were straight cowards. So as soon as any pressure is applied to them or someone that's with his shit comes and gets at them, first thing they're doing is trying to strike somebody up because they can't deal with it themselves. You know, the streets can change at any time, man. Anything can happen. And this is why I try to emphasize so much about, not putting yourself in a position to where you're around individuals who are living in that life. Because it's like you go to a barbershop. If you go to a barbershop every day, eventually you're going to get a haircut. If you're hanging out with that old crowd that's over there packing guns, selling dope, or in the streets, eventually you're going to be doing the same thing. And the reality is these type of situations can happen at any time. Security starts within yourself first and foremost. Don't let anybody try to dictate your security. Because when that happens, man, is when you have people getting caught slipping, people not expecting it. You know what I mean? I had some homeboys one time. They went to Emma's. And one of them, I was lacing them up about red on red, and we're not supposed to engage with homeboys out in the streets. But what I didn't tell them is that not everybody agrees with that. You have to take precautions. So they started getting into it with some homeboys from the south side. It ended up being an individual I had business dealings with later on, Mikey Stryker, and his whole crew. So they ended up jumping on about 2 or 3 of my homeboys. Homeboys trying to intervene it, stop it. Like he's trying to be diplomatic and political. Next thing you know, someone cracks him with a bottle. And the shit kicks off, man. There's been a lot of incidents. My controlling case was for a drive-by shooting. I didn't get questioned for it, though, at that time because this is before all the new implementations. But when you go back in days, most of the homeboys were in there for shooting at homeboys, And most of the fights that occurred in there, besides other races, I chunked them more with other homeboys in there than I did anybody else, And there was no consequences for it. It was like a man thing. Okay, go handle your business. Go do what you do, But all that started to change, man. And the one thing that's going to always be ruled against you is this. If you ever take any of these type of actions where there's a grenadier present or a regiment member present, you just jeopardize your whole career without any type of due process. Because you're falling under the bandana of the NF on the streets. And for you to jeopardize any of their manpower means you're playing with their money. And respect's going to be shown at all costs. So think about it, guys, before you go out there and decide to run the streets or sell dope or, gangbang. It's not worth it, man. Take it from someone who lived that life for years, man. Who fell into that whole, that cesspool of shit, of BS. You know what I mean? Of advocating something that wasn't for the best interest of the gente. It was only for the best interest of lining certain people's pockets up. And that's the truth of it. Yet, anybody that represents any type of gang out there in Northern California, that represents that Red Paño and that 1-4, is going to fall into that same type of dictation. Anyways, it's your boy Flacco. A little bit about red on red. This particular incident, man, it got a lot of people mad too, though. But it had to be done. And I think a lot of people were mad because they knew that, this is the truth of it, man. I'm from a small town. But my town's in Santa Clara County, which is San Jose. So anytime you got a homeboy that comes in with more juice, more pull, more rank, more status, that's not from San Jose, there's always going to be certain individuals that are going to try to question or not like what you're doing. You know what I mean? It's all good. I had a few C's in my back pocket. Anyways, it's your boy Flacco. I'm out.